Good evening, Fernwood. It is your squeaky squealer Neil, and it's time for us to squeeze in another episode of Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman. We're watching episode 283 today from May 4th, 1977. Yesterday we took a look at the various relationship dynamics going on with the Shumways and the Hartmans, so why don't we take a look at yesterday? Martha started the episode in a romantic mood in the apartment as Mac showed up to visit with some flowers. Martha thought at first that Kathy's boyfriend was visiting her so much, especially since Kathy had moved out, and Mac said that he doesn't think of himself as Kathy's boyfriend. He offers her some flowers, and then they share a glass of wine together, ripples straight from the bottle. And then Mac shares a little bit about himself, that he was abandoned by his mother as a child. Then he comes forward with it that he has romantic feelings for Martha, which she puts off because she's married still and feels pretty conflicted about it. However, in the end, she's the one that pulls them together. In the Hartman kitchen, Mary is preparing breakfast, practicing flipping French toast, and rubs her teeth again as the toaster pops out some bread right onto the floor. Heather walks in, sullen, reading Cosmopolitan, and Mary tries to appeal to her daughter in a way that feels like babying. Mary has already poured a can of soda into the Bozo the Clown mug that she bought, and Heather balks at that, saying that that's a kid's item. Then Mary offers pigs in a blanket, and Heather opts for coffee, a strong dark coffee. Mary asks Heather if when Mary was in the mental ward, she hated her father just as much as she hates her. And Heather says she doesn't hate Mary, but does find it uncomfortable that Mary is trying to take her dad's place, and insists that Mary can't do anything by herself. Then Mary lets Heather know that she's been hired by Merle as a secretary, and Heather makes a distasteful face at the thought that her mother is going to be a secretary. At which point Mary draws the line at the insult and starts yelling. Then Heather walks off, but before she gets out of the room, she answers the phone, and it is Sergeant Foley, who has called with the news that Tom slept well the night before, which is some relief for Mary. But Heather picks up that Foley is making the moves on Mary, and that Mary probably still has some interest. Mary thinks that Heather is unfair, but Heather walks off to school, pointing out that there is a package outside. Then Mary walks out, opens it up, and finds the stationery for her new job with Merle. And then finally, at the Shumway home, George is working on love poems for Martha, who has moved out. Grandpa comes in, and George hides the poems immediately. Of course, Grandpa finds them and thinks that it's a great idea for George to be working on this. George goes to find some privacy to work on finishing his poems as Kathy comes out to make some hot chocolate for herself, as Martha visits for a moment to grab some items. And Kathy notes that she's taking scented candles and some other stuff that feels like a date. Martha leaves, then George comes out with his finished poems, which Kathy says are the pits, and she tells George that Martha is hooking up with Mac. So George calls over to the apartment, and of course who is there to answer but Mac Slattery himself. George has a burst of anger, then destroys his poems, and takes a walk while Grandpa and Kathy wonder what to do about him. Everyone these last couple of days this week have really looked at the emotional situation, the relationships in these two families. I expect we'll see some Haggers and some Jeter stuff today, so why don't we get started?
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
I'm working at home because of Tom. You know how he feels about my working. But we have no more money. And one of the only ways to earn a living, is to work. I can't remember where I read that.
Well, why can't Tom work?
Oh, you mean they haven't told you?
Told me what?
Tom's in jail for first-degree murder.
Oh, maybe that's why I haven't seen him around as much.
It's hard on Heather, too. You know, she really needs a father figure.
I'll drink to that.
Grandpa, Heather doesn't respect me. She only respects Tom. And now that he's in jail for murder, she can't use him as a model. I mean, he's never around.
Oh, take a nap and forget it.
I've come to dread visiting Tom. Every day I just dread it more and more. I mean, I love Tom. I just hate seeing him in that awful cell. I wish I didn't have to go there anymore. Am I terrible, Grandpa?
Nonsense. You're my favorite. And I'm one who can't stomach terrible people. So don't worry about it.
Oh, thanks, Grandpa. Mary's off Xanax.
Hi, Mary?
Yeah?
This is Dennis.
Oh, hi.
I'm just calling to report on Tom's condition.
You did that already?
It was yesterday. I'm reporting on today's condition.
Oh, I see.
It's a sign of consideration.
So?
So,
So, I mean, is that the only reason for the call?
sure. What other reason would I have for calling you?
Oh, none. Fine, thanks a lot. Really. Goodbye. Bye. How can Heather say I encouraged that man? How can she say that? You saw that. I didn't even get a chance to ask how Tom was. Ah, Heather.
Mary. You're a silly little girl. Now take your nap, wake up and eat, and everything will be all right. So on.
Bye, Grandpa.
Oh, Grandpa! Mary, I have a favor to ask of you. Now, I don't think this is too much for a mother to ask her very own daughter.
What?
Can Mac and I use your house?
What?
We want to use your house, so we can be alone, to talk, to get to know each other better. Now, this is perfectly innocent, and there's no place else that's safe.
My mother wants to use my house for secret meetings with her partner in adultery. Or am I wrong in thinking that's wrong?
Yes, Mary, I think you are. After all, everybody else in this family has had a fling. Why can't I find out about life, too?
What a wonderful way of putting it. Finding out about life.
Good. Then I'll run and tell Mac. Thank you.
Smut is so much easier to take when there's a good reason for it.
La 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 la, dee la la la, la 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 la, dee la 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 la, dee la 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 la
Hey, how you doing,
Oh,
darling?
hi, honey. Listen, sweetie, I made us some martinis. They're right over there on the...
Oh, great. Terrific.
Merle, honey, when you hired Mary as your secretary,
Yeah.
Did it ever occur to you to ask if she could type?
If she could type?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Well, actually, what I had in mind, in hiring in Mary, that's extraordinary, really.
Yeah, I thought so.
No, I'll tell you what I had in mind, Ron, was, see, with Mary, we get someone that's not just, an ordinary common secretary. You get someone who's in touch with the people of Fernwood. You know what I mean? And you know what they've always said? They say, as Fernwood votes, so votes the nation.
Merle, knock it off.
Wanda, don't be hard on me now. My gosh, sure, I had other motivations in there, but they were humanitarian, for God's sake. Poor Heather, poor Tom.
Tell me, Merle, did your heart bleed over the fact that you let the GGG hire Nat Dearborn for Tom's defense?
Well, I think we could have done a lot worse than Nat Dearborn, Wanda.
I don't know how. Mary Hartman types better than Nat Dearborn defends. But what I really don't understand here, Merle, is why you didn't pull some strings so Tom could get out on his own recognizance.
Well, that's, a wonderful thought on your part and everything, but I don't want you worrying your head about Tom Hartman anymore, Wanda, really.
Really?
Absolutely, really. My gosh. Now, look, I got one little errand to do, and then I'm going to come back here and convince you in my own inimitable fashion that you're the only person in my life, okay? All right, come on.
Where are you going, Merle?
Oh, I got to pick up Heather. I'm going to take her out there to see Dr. Maddox's extraordinary boa constrictor at that little museum outside town.
Tell me, does this qualify as city business?
That's sarcastic, Wanda.
Yeah.
I'd say it was more like a Christian duty than a city business. I mean, we're talking about a child here at a very impressionable stage of her life. All of a sudden, she finds herself without a male father or brother image in her life.
Oh, easy, Merle. Don't get me crying.
Now, don't do that. Don't do that, Wanda. If you want to talk about city business, I'll tell you what city business is. City business is taking care of the people of the city. Now, you just think about that. Oh, now listen, if that lady from the orphanage calls, tell her to stop bugging me. I'll get back to her when I can, okay?
Right. Taking care of the people. Well, hello. Is this the city jail? Listening, I'm calling about a prisoner you have, Tom Hartman. Can you tell me how he's doing today? Oh, that bad, huh? Well, could you tell me when the visiting hours are? Oh, okay. Yeah, well, thanks a lot. Yeah, bye.
All right, Hartman, you got some company.
Nat Dearborn, Pat Gimbel's lawyer.
Get out.
Well, maybe you don't understand. I'm here to help you.
I understand. Get out.
Garton! He's reluctant to open up with you here. If you'll leave us alone a while, we'll have ourselves a sensible little talk.
Sensible? Let me tell you something about your client.
But what kind of a lawyer would I be if I didn't give it my very best?
Go on, laugh, Texas. Go on, laugh. We'll see who's laughing when I get my say.
Well, that's what I'm here for. Now, let's get this over with.
It's over. Get out. Get out.
Oh, I know you don't mean that. Now, why don't you tell me in your own words just what happened? You see, we've got this here, what do you call it, preliminary hearing on Friday. So if you want me to understand what's going on before then, we'll have to work out some kind of a system.
Hey, look, I don't need you. You understand that? All I got is myself. Got that? I am defending myself.
Well, that sure seems silly to me. You know how long it would take you to accumulate the vast store of legal knowledge that I've got crammed right up here? Weeks. Maybe longer. Since you'd be working under, what's that term? Diminished capacity?
Hey, listen, you. I'm innocent, you understand? I was framed. You understand that? And I'm getting out of here, and I don't need you to help me.
All right, fine. Have it your way. But I sure feel sorry for you. Having to face a judge and a jury with your obvious lack of finesse.
Oh, you feel sorry for me, huh? Texas feels sorry for me. Everybody feels sorry for me. If everybody feels so damn sorry for me, why the hell am I in here? Why don't they get me out of here? I'll tell you why. Because if I was out there, they couldn't feel sorry for me. They like it too much. And that's... Forget it.
I can help.
Yeah, really, huh?
Trust me, Tom.
I don't know. I really don't know.
You gotta trust somebody. And I'm your man.
You believe
I'm paid to be trusted.
Do you think I'm innocent?
Well,
Do you believe it?
it's my job to believe you're innocent, but it sure would help to have a little more to go on.
I can tell you who did it.
Now we're getting someplace.
Hey, look, I can tell you who it was now.
Even better.
Yeah. Look, I trust you. You know that? You know why I trust you? Because I think you care. You know? And you really do care. I mean, you're a caring kind of person. I mean, only a caring person would not want to be paid for this.
Oh, I'm getting paid for it.
You what? Wait a minute. I can't pay. I don't have no money, and Mary doesn't have any money. We can't pay you.
You had friends, Tom. Friends who'd like to see you out of these unpleasant surroundings. Friends who'd like to see the real murderer, what's that fancy word? Apprehended. Friends who...
Who are they? Who?
Oh, Vernon Bales, Texas.
Fine! Get him out of here!
Hartman, you caused the problem again.
But everything was going so smoothly.
Tom, boy, I'm gonna tell you, you got a lot of tension, boy. I mean, you ought to take up a hobby or something. Like that, what do they call it, macrame? Here, why don't you play with this for a while?
Legs. Dennis, you shouldn't be here. Come inside quickly. Come on, hurry up.
Mary, if I shouldn't be here, maybe I shouldn't be here.
No, but there's a big difference. If you're in here, only you and I are shocked. If you're standing out there, the whole neighborhood is shocked.
Well, I brought you some eggs and milk.
Oh, thank you very much.
Mary, what are you so worried about? I mean, you said it yourself. There's no reason for us to avoid one another simply because we once had...
Did I say that? Oh, I just meant that we shouldn't avoid each other at the jail. That's what I meant. I mean, at the jail, we do have to talk to each other. You know, we have to talk about jail stuff. I mean, we have to talk about Tom. I mean, that's very important. Tom is very important to talk about. I mean, Tom was always important, but he's even more important now to talk about. Could you not stand so near the window? In fact, could you duck down and get on the floor? Thank you.
I understand. Really, I was thinking about it and I realized you could probably use a friend right now.
I would really love to, hang out with you and talk to you about Tom, all day long. But I'll tell you right now, my mind is so totally and completely on this floor.
Yeah. I can see that. Just that I thought, since my friend's husband was in jail, she might need a strong shoulder to lean on.
Oh, I don't think we should be discussing about it, Dennis.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was getting too intimate. If it'll make you feel better, I'll go.
Is that the door?
I think so.
Oh, isn't this nice? You know, the funny thing, I don't think anything pleases me more than one of my police officers taking a real personal interest in the people of the community. You know what I mean? But it's Dennis Foley, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, well, now, Merle.
Oh, hey,
Hi.
I didn't see you down there.
Hi, yeah. Sergeant Foley was just helping with some dust bunnies on his way out. Here, by the way, let me know if you see any more dust bunnies out there, too, okay?
Well, it's nice seeing you again.
Sure it is.
Take care of yourself. I'll be around.
Yeah. You mean around the jail? He means around the jail. We discussed it before. So if I have to find him, I can always call him at the jail. But I probably won't be, needing him at all or anything like that.
Well, goodbye again.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, we'll see you. What's a dust bunny? Is that some kind of toy or something?
Oh, please, Merle, don't confuse me.
Confuse you, is that what you say? I'll tell you what's confusing to me, Mary, is how some curly-headed, empty-headed type character like that has enough personality to lure you into doing something, well, how can I put this delicate? Pretty sordid would be the wrong word.
Okay, Merle. Okay, something I'm going to tell you, and it's very hard for me to tell you because it makes me very uncomfortable to say it, but especially to you.
Uh-huh.
I love Tom. And I love Tom more than anything in the whole world. And nothing is going to stand in my way of my love for that man. And by that man, I mean Tom.
Sure.
Now, could we please talk about something else?
Wait. How about office supplies?
I mean, I do love Tom.
I heard you, Mary. I heard you the first time. You all set up here now? To see, what I had in mind is you'd be able to, just like this, set up your little office right here in the kitchen. And then as your boss, what I'd do is drop by from time to time, dictate something to you or something like that.
I mean, I really love him. I love him.
Right.
Maybe I just shouldn't take this job. Maybe I really shouldn't take it because Tom feels, and he's just always felt that it was very undignified, for a wife to have a job.
I think we're forgetting about something here. Forgetting about old Tom sitting in that jail. How do you think he feels knowing that his wife and his little girl are starving to death? Think he can rest easy in that cell thinking about that?
No. I don't think he would.
Well, I'm going to take that as a statement of intent. What that intent is, we have yet to see, but that is definitely a statement. And we start with Mary and Grandpa talking about Tom. And Grandpa doesn't know that Tom is in jail. Grandpa often misses big things, but that's a big one to miss. And then Mary gets a call from Dennis, and Dennis is theoretically calling to tell Mary how Tom is doing in jail. Yesterday it was good news. As we see today, he doesn't get the news across, but maybe it's not as good as he said yesterday, looking at the context of what we see here. Mary is putting some brakes on whatever Dennis is up to when he calls. His thought we can guess at, but if we were to go with my guess, it would be to continue contacting Mary. Last week he said he wasn't intending to contact Mary until he saw her face, and then he switched back into the Dennis that is obsessed. Mary senses that and shuts the phone call down before Dennis can share any message about Tom, which, based on what I saw later in the episode, may have been completely made up. Then Martha comes over to ask Mary to use her home so that she and Mac can have some private time, which is surprising since Martha has her own apartment and Kathy isn't probably going to go over there. However, it does turn into maybe a comparison between what Mary is thinking about, right? The idea that Dennis was the person that she had the affair with, and that Martha is going to have an affair with Mac. It wasn't stated by Mary that she was thinking about it, but that the conversation with Dennis was just beforehand. And we know that that's on her mind. She definitely mentioned making a mistake. But now Martha is going to make her own thing. It's still a little odd that Martha wants Mary's house for it, because she has a place of her own. So I'm not sure why it's not safe there. In fact, it seems more dangerous at Mary's house because it's literally next door to the Shumways, to Kathy and George. Which, when I say that out loud, sounds like it could be part of some kind of plan, but also I'm not reading it in the emotions I'm seeing from Martha at this point. It's just a thought that occurred to me as I was saying it out loud. And then we are with Wanda and Merle, and I haven't mentioned before how much it tickles me when Wanda does that singing thing with her really deep voice. She first did it in German, and since then she's sort of been humming to herself, and I don't know why that specifically tickles me, but it does. Then Merle comes in, and Wanda confronts him with the specific fact that Mary is a horrible typist. So why is she a secretary, what we would now call today an administrative assistant? And Merle spins some webs about Mary being closer to the citizenry of Fernwood, and where Fernwood goes, the nation goes, which is nonsense. And Wanda rightly questions Merle about not having pulled strings for Tom. It's the question that we asked when Merle turned down that thought a couple of weeks ago. Why did Merle not do anything for Tom? What he said was that it would be good for Tom to go through the legal system. That would be better for Tom. Which I can't see how taking advantage of having mayor friendship privileges is bad for you. It really seems like Merle wants Mary to be vulnerable. And then after Merle leaves, Wanda calls over to the jail and finds out that Tom is not doing as well as we heard from Dennis yesterday. So there's something going on where Wanda is thinking about Tom. And maybe that's good to have someone on Tom's team, because the GGG certainly isn't on his side. And as we're about to see, even Nat Dearborn, who is very well intentioned, is going to have his problems with Tom. Because Tom, first of all, is in paranoid mode. He's been drinking, which is pretty awful, and he hates everything to do with the GGG, which is right. It takes time for Nat to build up the rapport to get past Tom's wall. And sadly, once he gets past Tom's wall, then Nat says a true statement, which is that the GGG are paying for him. And this is the point at which Tom says, "Get out." So I'm not sure if there's going to be this attorney-client thing going on here, because if Tom isn't going to speak to Nat, I don't know who will. Wanda? Maybe Wanda has some secret law degree. Maybe Wanda has some strings to pull. But at this point, Tom is looking defenseless. Speaking of someone who is defenseless, we have Mary Hartman cleaning the kitchen, because that is her specific obsession. And she gets a visit from Dennis, who really shows up for no reason. I mean, both of the men who show up in the scene show up for no reason. And we know that the reason is that they are wanting Mary. Mary creates the boundary, right? She knows that it's uncomfortable for anyone to know that Dennis is even nearby her home. I mean, he only lives a few houses away, but we'll take that with a grain of salt. But that Dennis is coming to visit is a problem for Mary, right? It is a perception issue that the neighborhood will see Dennis there and make some kind of story. Well, that is true. People will, because as soon as they saw Dennis, they had a story in their mind of what was going to happen. As we, the viewers at home, have our own story of what we hope to happen or what we hope to not happen, as the case may be. And Dennis maybe doesn't totally get that Mary is putting up a wall here. To me, the problem that I have with Dennis when he gets obsessive is that he doesn't perceive Mary's boundaries, which is the one episode I referred to, I think yesterday or the day before, was Dennis pushing beyond Mary's boundaries, which I find really disgusting. Then Merle shows up, and we see out here, while Tom is in jail, we have two men who Tom knows are after Mary in a romantic and or sexual way. And maybe the benefit of having two of them on the outside world is that they will fight with each other like ants. I don't know how ants work, but I figure there's a red ant and a black ant. I think that sometimes they fight. I made up a little metaphor for myself. I could be wrong. But in this case, we have two beasts out there who are fighting for the same morsel. Wow, that sounds really awful when I say it that way. But yeah, that's the image I have, that they are going for this. She's a person, I know, but in this picture, they're fighting over her. And Dennis leaves, and Merle sticks around, and his jealousy is showing. At which point Mary stands up and says that she loves Tom. And I think that she's not lying. I think that that is a true statement. It is complicated. Her feeling for Tom, her relationship with Tom is complicated. She does love him. I think there's a lot that they could work out. I don't know how it will go. But she does love him. And then Mary explores the idea of not taking the job from Merle, and Merle, being the manipulative jerk that he is, and again, I don't think of him as a villain, but he is a bad person. He points out that Mary needs money to feed herself and Heather and pay for whatever living expenses that they have, and that Merle's job probably the thing that can do that. Perhaps Mary could take another job, but this is the job that is available. So that is where Mary goes. Mary sees that and doesn't think about an alternative, but realizes that this job right here will keep her living. So everyone, that is our midweek episode of Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman. Thank you so much for watching with me. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions down in the comments. Thank you for squeezing one in. And we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.